to the US, and Joe Biden will release a multi-trillion-dollar budget plan later today, sharpening the contest with Republicans on taxes, social programs and defense ahead of looming fiscal battles and the likely launch of his re-election campaign. Mr. Biden will present his budget in Philadelphia, the largest city in the swing state of Pennsylvania, rather than in Washington, D.C. An unusual shift in venue that points to the political importance of the plan. The annual proposal comes as the U.S. President and White House officials increasingly see a clash of economic ideologies as a defining feature of the American political landscape over the coming months and heading into the 2024 race. And we'll have more on President Biden's budget speech in just a moment. But first, staying in the U.S., Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has been taken to hospital after a fall at a Washington, D.C. hotel. His spokesman told U.S. media that Mr. McConnell tripped at a hotel during a private dinner. No further detail about his condition was shared. The 81-year-old is serving a 7th term in the Senate. Mr. McConnell is one of the most senior lawmakers in the Republican Party, now serving as Senate Minority Leader. Well, for more on this, let's speak to Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Ham, who joins me live from Washington, D.C. Good to see you, Eric. Let's start with President Biden. He's due to unveil a hotly contested budget proposal during a speech in Philadelphia tonight. What can we expect?
Well, Charles, the big take is this is a budget that the president believes that will secure many Americans who are deeply concerned about the rise of inflation and also the impact on seniors, with much talk of cutting Social Security and Medicaid, as well as the cost of insulin. However, Charles, with all of that, this budget is seen as DOA, dead on arrival, because already we have heard from a number of Republicans who said that this budget will not see the light of day. And to be clear, the president is outlined by the Constitution to provide a budget. And what we see in this budget is the president laying out a vision, a plan, a strategy, not only to reduce the deficit, but also to ensure that the United States maintains a robust Defense Department, as well as meeting some of the most burdensome needs of America's most vulnerable. In this budget, we know that the president is going to call for raising of taxes on corporations and high-income earners, to be able to slash the deficit by more than $2 trillion, as well as bringing back the popular child income tax credit, which we know would be a boon for many Americans with small children. In addition to that, the president's budget calls for actually extending the payout of Medicare for 25 years, as well as capping the cost of insulin for seniors. But again, while we do know that it touches on a number of different issues, what we see and have heard from Republicans already is this is a budget that is DOA. And Charles, in contrast to that, we have yet to see or hear from the Republicans about what their budget proposals and plans are heading into the next fiscal year.
And Eric, as you said, it is the president's tax plan specifically, I mean, beyond other wider things that the Republicans have vowed will not see the light of day. And this is coming as U.S. lawmakers are debating the federal budget to avoid a potential default on the national debt, with tensions, I understand, building in Congress over Mr. Biden's strategy to raise the debt ceiling.
That's right. And what we have heard from Republicans, and to be clear, Charles, the budget is completely separate and wholly independent from the debt ceiling. In fact, there are a number of people who believe that the debt ceiling just needs to be raised cleanly. However, what Republicans, at least House Republicans, are calling for is they are calling for major cuts to the budget in exchange for raising the debt ceiling. Well, the president has put forward his budget, but we have yet to see a counter proposal from Republicans with their own budget or what specifically they would like to see cut. Now, there is growing concern and tensions between both parties Democrats are accusing Republicans of wanting to cut the Holy Grail, Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, while Republicans are saying that's simply not true, but they do want to see cuts without actually identifying what cuts they want to see to the budget. And so what we're going to see, Charles, is this game of chicken is going to play out until we get to the summer, where something will need to be done about the debt ceiling by June.
And Eric, we've got about a minute or so left. Let's talk about the other story that we mentioned at the outset. The U.S. Senate Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been taken to hospital after a fall at a hotel in Washington. How serious is it? Because we haven't heard much about his condition.
Well, we don't know much about his condition either. In fact, the Republican caucus has been left in the dark, and they are now trying to ascertain what happened. What we do know is that the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was at a fundraiser for his political action committee at the Waldorf Astoria. This is the hotel that was once owned by former President Donald Trump, that was taken over by another private entity. He was there for a private fundraiser. We do know that some of his other colleagues were there with him as well, that he took a fall and was taken to the hospital. But in terms of how his condition is at this time, we do not have any more details. We are told that his colleagues, Senate Republican colleagues, will actually get a briefing about his condition sometime today.
Eric, thanks very much indeed. We're up to date. Eric Ham, Arise US correspondent, always be there from Washington.